and welcome back to another episode of the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Real Conversations is a podcast for those dedicated to doing hard things and living meaningful life. This week's episode is another edition of the Q&A Life Update series where my former basketball teammate, my current business partner, I almost said former there. Don't want to break that news live on the air.
Oof.
Yeah. I got something to tell you, John.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyways, a long list of titles. My best friend, former roommate, basketball teammate, business partner, John Peterson, is doing the Q&A with us.
And we're back.
We're back, man.
We're back.
We've decided that a couple episodes ago, we brought the heat. Like we came out with intensity, and I feel like that episode was well received. The one in the sauna was cool. I mean, I really enjoyed that.
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That was enjoyable. We'll probably have to toss that in there every couple episodes.
Yeah, we can do that. Do that. It's
But-
a mental challenge.
Yeah. It was a nice touch. It was crazy to be sweating that much during an episode.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Anyways, we're bringing the heat today. You guys submitted questions. We're going to answer them to the best of our ability. If you guys have questions for next episode, you can text them to me. You can DM them. We'll just build a catalog up and we'll pull from them next time. So the first question is...
I feel like people need to throw in some like would you rathers in there or something like that.
Just get us talking about random.
Yeah. Anyway, go.
All right, question number 1. Do you feel like you have a mental edge? If so, where does your mental edge come from?
I would say no. I told you I was going to say no on this one too. I don't think that we are smarter than anybody just inherently. I don't think there's anything about us that's like we're naturally better at anything. I think we just have something in us that is driven. And I think our willingness to learn, our willingness to be sponges, that is probably our edge, is that we're just willing to go into a room and say, hey, we don't know what's going on. Can we learn from you? What do you think about this? These are the problems we're having. We have no shame in that. And so I think that is our edge. Our network is our edge. And just our toughness, our resilience, that's our edge.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So when you told me you're going to say no, I was like, I really disagree. I feel like we have an edge because we interpreted mental edge differently. Sounds like you think of mental edge as like just baseline intelligence. Like, are you more competent, smarter than other people?
Yeah.
That's fair. I think of mental edge as like, you think about professional athletes, it's just like they have that mental edge, like that competitive drive, that little piece. You talked about being driven. That's how I view mental edge. So
Interesting.
I think we both had the same answer. We just kind of had different opinions on what that actually meant.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, yes, we have a mental edge. I feel like we're both pretty locked in. And I also feel like we're pragmatic thinkers. Like one thing that I think is an advantage is that even though we're young, I think we're trying to understand the long game, and we can maybe attribute that to the mentors and the conversations we've had with them and then through the podcast as well. But we understand that like, if we just keep doing something every single day and we're working 7 days a week and everyone else is working 4, maybe 5, then over time it's going to compound and that's going to pay off. And so I feel like we have a baseline understanding of principles and concepts of just kind of how things work. Like we need the more specific, industry specific knowledge of like finance and restaurant operations. Like I agree, we're lacking in that experience compared to the 30-year vet, but I feel like we have a good pragmatic understanding of if I do one thing every single day, that builds upon itself. And so let's make sure we're doing the right things. And over time, that is going to create a huge edge for us as well.
Right. We don't have the mental edge yet, I guess is what I should say.
Hey guys, Jacob here. Real quick before we get back to the episode, I just want to take a quick second and say, if you guys are enjoying this episode, please make sure to share the link with a friend. You may have noticed I don't run any ads in the podcast. In fact, I don't make any money off the podcast. It's quite the contrary. Over the past 5 years, I've invested a lot of time, money, and effort into the growth of the show, trying to continually upgrade the equipment, bring on better guests, and just improve the overall quality of the podcast. So if you guys are enjoying this episode or if you enjoyed previous episodes, please share the link with a friend. Sending it to 1 or 2 people makes a huge difference for me on the back end. As always, I appreciate your guys' support. Let's get back into the episode.
For sure.
It's interesting that was just like you can ask one question, have pretty close to the same answer, but view it in 2 different ways.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%. It's cool. It's awesome. I love it.
So, that's the first one.
That is why we are business partners.
It is, in fact.
Yeah.
We view things differently and have different understandings of things, but in like a positive way.
Same goal, same vision.
Yeah.
Different ways of thinking about it.
We just kind of balance each other out pretty well.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, when you hire someone for your restaurant, what traits do you look for? How do you train them to want to give customers the best experience every time?
Do you want to go on this one first, or do you want me to?
Am I buying you time?
No, I have a good answer.
I like the confidence.
Yeah, no, I think from the beginning we wanted to do restaurants differently than other people, and not coming from a restaurant background, hospitality background, I think maybe we had a little bit of an advantage in that because we didn't have any preconceived notions or thoughts about how we should run the restaurant or anything like that. But I know we were very, very picky with our managers, right? And that was the first 2 hires that we did for the restaurant, and we knew that was like super important. One, because they were going to be the people that were there every day and running the restaurant, working with employees, hiring hourlies and stuff like that. But also because they are the folks that are going to be putting that culture forward, right? And so when we were going through that hiring process, we were very, very selective in finding people that we felt weren't going to hold general restaurant norms in the restaurant. And so we looked for characteristics for those people, people that we would like to work with on a daily basis. I know everybody says that when you hire, but people that had high energy, willingness to help. And I guess it was kind of hard because we didn't know what kind of candidates we were going to get. And we got a wide array of candidates. But one thing that we did want is you hire the personality and then you train everybody else. You train all the other skills. And so that continues to go today in all of our hourlies. It's like somebody comes in with a great attitude, we're always hiring. We'll find a spot for you. Like, we're not going to turn somebody away that's got a great attitude, that's ready to learn, ready to listen, ready to carry a customer experience that is above, what is standard in the industry. So that's what we look for, because at the end of the day, I was thinking about this on my way over. We're not in the brunch business. We're in the people business. And, if you can please the customer, if you can make them have a great experience, the likelihood that they come back is tenfold if they had great food, but no good experience.
Yeah. I think for our managers specifically, we tried to hire the hustle. Like, even in our interviews, we were telling them, look, this is one restaurant. We're going to have a lot of growing and learning pains, but John and I are ambitious and we have a bigger vision for this. We want to build this out into something bigger than just that one location. Do you have a desire to build and grow with us? And that was a specific part of the interview that we discussed with every candidate, and then especially the 2 that we ended up hiring. And so I think there's a level of hustle that we wanted out of that we see, they're willing to go the extra mile, put in the extra time. And I think that is a benefit of something that we did right with hiring. I'll say when it comes to like, how do we train them to give the best experience to the customer? We try really hard to focus on culture. And that's something that we're going to continue to get better at the more experience that we get with it. But just from all of the reading that we've done and the podcasts we've listened to and the conversations that we've had, it really comes down to like setting a standard, holding the standard. And then when your people start to hold the standard, they will reinforce the standard for the new hires. And we're starting to see that with some of our folks that have been here for a longer time. And we try and reinforce that, like, hey, you're doing exactly what we want. And we call it kind of like an appreciation moment. We'll grab them, take them into the back office, and we'll do like a handwritten letter signed by all of us, just, calling out what we see, reaffirming it. It's that positive reaffirmation of what they're doing. And then we find out what they like, if that's energy drinks, if that's candy, if that's something else, like we'll give them a present along with the handwritten letter and just like try and make it a special thing. And then we'll also have an employee of the month system that we do, where we do that in front of everyone so that, hopefully that builds up positive morale. We don't hit it every time. Like, we don't have the best hire every single time, but the ones that have been great are the ones that have stuck around and the ones that we want to continue to build upon and basically develop more of those types of people.
Yeah. And I think we've gotten really lucky so far. We've got some really good folks.
Yeah.
And it would be really hard to go into the restaurant every day not liking who you're around.
Yeah.
And I feel like we do not have that situation at all.
It is. Yeah. I was there this morning. I take pictures and videos for the 4th of July post that I'll be doing in front of the Broken Egg. And like I was just laughing with some of the servers. Like we were trying to figure out the right angle. I mean, you were involved with the whipped cream and everything, and it was honestly just kind of fun this morning. We were a little bit slower, so if they had more time and they were trying to help me out, and like we just have people that you want to be around, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they like coming to work too.
Yeah, they come in on their off days,
Yeah.
and they'll just eat at the restaurant and hang out with their server friends, and I mean that's been really cool to see. And I feel like there must be something that's being done right if they want to come in on their off days.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess what's in my head for the future on this is how do we create culture at scale, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like we have a good framework for one restaurant right now. But you know, how does that carry over into 2, 3, 4, 5? And that's yet to be determined. But that's kind of always been in my head is like, okay, we can create a good culture at one restaurant. That's a good check mark. Like that's a good first step. Now, how do you do it at a bigger scale? And so it'll be TBD.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to have to be the managers that we have in place once we have more locations, you know, like
Right.
they're going to have to be the ones reinforcing it, which that's a scary thing that I don't directly have an answer to, but it's like, it's got to be them. We've got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. And then I guess more like pragmatically, like how do you incentivize a server to want to provide the best experience? Well, I mean, they make minimum wage, $3.25 an hour in Kansas.
$2.13.
Sorry, $2.13 an hour in Kansas, and then they get tipped on top of that. So all of their real income comes from tips, and so that is a direct incentive for them to provide the best possible experience. That they get a bigger tip. And I will say, I feel like our servers do quite well when it comes to that.
I think they do well. I think they do really well, and I think they've stuck around because they do okay and they like where they work and stuff like that. But do you have another point to go with that?
I was just going to say the back of house, they're paid hourly, and they're paid pretty well, I would say. But like we try and get them to buy into the principle of do the best no matter how small the task is, and just helping them to understand like how that can translate across their life, and that if we're trying to grow this and they're consistently working on doing the best eggs, the best sandwiches, then we'll give them more responsibility. I mean, we've got one guy now who's basically doing managerial tasks, who's an hourly worker. And it's like, if we can get a second location up, you're in a pretty good spot to be a good candidate for a managerial role. So that's upward mobility. And so it's like getting them to buy into this seemingly insignificant task can actually have a payoff if you'll consistently do it to the best of your ability.
Right, right. And the thing I was going to say is, you know, obviously you and I haven't worked deeply into the restaurant space outside of Another Broken Egg as a group. But from what we've heard, you know, there's usually some tension between front of house and back of house. So the servers and the cooks or whatever that looks like. And that was something that we really didn't want to happen in the cafe. And I think, you know, because that just creates toxicity when a server is mad at the cooks. And it's just, it creates a full divide in the restaurant, which it fully reflects out to the front of house and into, you know, the customer as well. And so that's something that we've really tried to mitigate. And I think the managers are of the same opinion that they want everybody to get along. And so that's been a really big push. And it's worked out really, really well. Our group has a really good culture. They jive well together. The back house, the front house. I mean, they're a really good crew.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We don't have cancer in our restaurant, which is beautiful, because when someone is like that and they're toxic and they're negative, like that brings your culture down and it affects your entire employee morale and just the operations in general. And I think us and our managers and even the employees realize that if we're going to be here all day working hard, we want to be around people that we enjoy spending time with and that are going to help us out, and in return we'll help them out. And yeah, I hadn't even thought about the fact that we really don't have negativity coming from employees. I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
It's an amazing thing. It really, really is. And I think, you know, because we talk about it a lot, it's like there's certain days where you can just tell that the cafe is off.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure every business has just days where it just doesn't feel quite right, but I can walk into the cafe, into the front, and you can tell. It's almost like a feeling that you get when you're there, probably because we're there so much, but you can just tell that something is going on, and then you dive into whatever that is and try to fix it. But some days you just get off days.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yep.
it's interesting. It's very interesting.
All right. Next up. What does endurance mean to you?
Endurance to me, I feel like, I mean, like we kind of discussed before, it's the long game, right? It's knowing that the sacrifices that you're making now are hopefully going to pay off in the future.
Mm-hmm.
The sacrifices that you make now to learn and the opportunity cost that you have for that, you're willing to take because down the road, that's probably going to help out in some way, shape, or form. And I think Joe Rogan's got a different quote about this or something like that, but he's like, endurance is not motivation.
Mm-hmm.
It's endurance is going to the gym when you have no motivation or doing the thing when you don't have motivation.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's two totally separate things. And you don't have motivation all the time, but if you have endurance, you're going to push through those times.
I think that's a good distinction. I view endurance as the ability to keep going.
Yeah.
Like, regardless if there's no motivation, like you're saying, regardless of the circumstances, or regardless if you're just gritting your teeth and you absolutely hate that present moment, like just the ability to keep going and the belief that it will get better.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it will.
Yeah. It always does.
The good times don't last forever and the bad times don't last forever.
Yeah.
So.
And it definitely is like a long-term view, like you're saying, like this moment's not going to last forever. Even though in the moment it feels like it is going to last forever. But I'll tell you what, all of those long days that we've had so far, they didn't last forever. Yep. And we're here right now and recording a podcast in an air-conditioned room, not sweating in a dish pit, not sweating in the window, just living life, enjoying it.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, I know the past few weeks we've started to hit a flow in the cafe and stuff like that. And it's been beneficial for you and I to kind of take a step back while still being hands-on and stuff like that. Just analyze how far we've come. And sometimes I don't appreciate those moments that we were back in Expo just sweating, or in the dish pit just sweating, and just the volume just killing us. But then you sit there and you're like, wow, we've come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
To gauge where we were then to now, it's night and day.
I remember feeling trapped in those four walls. Like the idea that four walls can literally make you feel nauseous.
Yeah.
The smell of bacon is just like overwhelming, and it's soaked into your clothes and into your backpack, and like all of that was just a lot for a little bit.
Yeah, it sure was. And I don't know if we're just nose blind to it now, but I don't feel like I smell like bacon all the time anymore.
I wear a lot more deodorant and cologne now than I used to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be the guy walking around smelling like bacon.
But we do, though. That's the problem. We do smell like bacon a lot.
Yeah. There's worse things.
I was going to say, it comes with the territory. There's worse things out there.
We could have a grease trap business and smell like that all day.
It's true. That's true.
Those guys have a tough job.
Yeah, they do. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah. Okay, that was pretty quick. I'm going to do our fourth toss-up question.
Okay.
How have you been balancing work, life, business, and having a relationship?
It's tough. It's tough, man.
Does balance exist?
I think it does. It does, but not in a traditional sense. I mean, there's no way you could say, this is how I balance my life out with percentages and stuff like that. I think it's all got to be by feel and what's needed at that moment. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no real solutions, just missed opportunities or something like that. Or what is that?
Are you doing the trade-offs quote?
Yeah. What's the trade-offs?
There are no solutions, just only trade-offs.
It really exemplifies what this question is about, because it's like, okay, I'm going to spend time on the business now because the business needs me. Well, that's going to take time away from, the relationship and stuff like that. I think and that's just how life goes. But I think being mindful of realizing that you're sacrificing a little bit here and being able to acknowledge that and say, and just be honest with those folks that are in that situation. Be like, hey, I need to devote a little bit more time over here right now, but it's not going to last forever. I'm going to devote time to you, but it's just going to be delayed. I think that's a good distinction and something that probably has helped my situation out a little bit.
Yeah. I don't agree with balance in the traditional sense of like 50% and 50% and, you got one of those old scales and everything's level and equal.
Right.
Like, I really think of it as like, if those are 4 buckets, you pour into those buckets with your focus, and you're going to pour into one and start to fill it up. And then you're going to realize that one's got a leak, and then you got to turn attention to that one, start filling it up. And you realize that that third bucket's slowly got a leak. Then you're going back to the first bucket. Like, I feel like that's every single day and every single week is just like which buckets, because you can feel whenever those buckets are off. Like, you can definitely tell when your work bucket is off because those problems are popping up in emails and texts and whatever. You can tell it in your intimate relationship because lack of attention is not good for a relationship. But I say the big realization for me is realizing like when my personal bucket has a little bit of a leak in it, because I like to go and discipline and motivation and just like understanding how all of that pays off. But I would say the biggest thing through this for me in that bucket has been realizing that like taking intentional time, whether that is a solid workout, whether that's a 30-minute ice bath and sauna, understanding how that resets me and then allows me to pour back into those other buckets, because you can't pour from an empty cup, is what everyone always says. And so I think I would often neglect like the personal bucket, even though I've always been healthy and worked out. I think I would neglect like how my headspace and all of that affects the other buckets. And I think that's one that I've tried to focus a lot on in these last few months.
Right. Well, and it kind of goes back. I think we mentioned this on other podcasts, but it's like if you can spend 60 hours a week just grinding away, the output that you have after 40 or 60, 50 hours is probably not as great.
Right.
So if you're more intentional with those 40 hours or the 50 hours or, even the 60 hours, then the output's going to be much greater than if you were to just put in all your time into that bucket.
Yeah. It's the quality of work and it's how you show up. Like even in your relationship, if you're drained from all of your other buckets and you're giving that person 4 hours of time, well, if you show up and you're not in a good headspace as a good version of yourself and you're thinking about work, you are physically present but mentally absent. And the other person knows that. I can tell that. You can tell that whenever we have meetings together. Like all of these things that maybe aren't discussed as much, like people can tell. Like you can pick up on it. Like you have to fill your own cup and pay attention to how you're showing up. And it's not about how many hours you're working, like you're saying. If I can have a more effective 5 hours and you're working 12 and they're just half-assed, then I'll take 5 all day long if I'm getting more done.
100%. 100%.
So, yeah. And then I would also say, like balancing all of that, it's been nice. Like you've been in a relationship for a long time. For me, it's been a little bit newer through the restaurant experience. It's nice having someone to take your mind off things a little bit, but then also to be able to like just kind of have as support and a little bit of a rock. Like that piece has been nice as well, because instead of going home just internalizing the problems of the day, like you get to kind of sort through them with someone and they can just hold space for you. And that's been a nice piece that I didn't appreciate or value prior to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there is a lot of value in that for sure. For somebody to be outside, a totally outside perspective, but also have the small details.
Yeah. I mean, they've got your best interests in mind. They're rooting for you. They know you personally and intimately, and just provide other perspective and sometimes just literally be there. I mean, that just feels good sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's power in a relationship for sure.
Yeah. So I'd say that's all I've got to say on that topic. We have been flipping it where we do the questions in the beginning and then the life update at the end. What's new happening in your world?
Honestly, just increasing our catering and killing it in the restaurant.
I mean, what's happening in John Peterson's life? Well, the catering numbers are up.
Right. Oh, that's what I'm thinking about. That's top of mind for me. But yeah, just grinding away. I mean, I think this is a new section for us, in trying to, because we're out of the restaurant a little bit more, it's filling that space with meaningful time and intentional, again, like you said, because we have just a little bit more free time. It's filling that time with thoughts and actions that are going to make a difference. Because when you have extra free time, it almost feels like a weight off
Yeah.
your shoulders a little bit instead of, okay, now I have time to do this. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to sit on my phone for a little bit and do that. And it's like, I got to focus myself back on the target. And sometimes I lose that a little bit.
Yeah. I think to maybe help paint the picture of what you're talking about for the listeners, since they're not in our exact experiences, like we spent so much time on hourly tasks for the last 7 months within the restaurant of where it's like, we need to bust this table right now. We need to prepare this food right now. We need to fix this issue right now. Everything was so instantaneous and urgent within the restaurant that like all the other tasks, emails, financial models, opportunity evaluation, deal structure, all of that had to be done outside of that time frame. And so when you have a time constraint that forces you to like just stay locked in and get it all done, which also can lead to burnout.
Right.
But that's how things were before. So when you're saying like we have more free time now, things are running pretty smoothly at the restaurant. So we're there and we check in, but we're not nearly doing the hourly tasks that we had to prior. So that allows for more time for us to do what we call our back office tasks, which are those emails, the accounting, the financials, just reviewing all of that type of stuff, and then trying to look at future opportunities, other endeavors like that. Like that is all the back office stuff. And because that is not urgent in the sense that there's an angry customer waiting for me, or this food needs to go out to that customer, because it's not urgent in that same manner, there's more room for procrastination, if I were to say it that way.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have a test coming up, you need to study for it, but there's no exact deadline on the test. You just know you should be studying for it.
Right.
And so it's like having this new, different muscle of discipline that we're exercising, where it's like, okay, we've got more time back on the table, which is what we've been working towards. Now we need to make sure that we're optimizing and using that effectively and not procrastinating.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that's a good distinction because it's not free time.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the good word for it, I guess, but more available time for work outside of the restaurant.
Yep. Working on the business rather than in it as much.
Indeed.
I'd say on my end, training for this ultra marathon, I did in fact sign up for it. So that's great. Ended up having a little bit of an injury. I've been having these really bad muscular knots in my shoulder blade. I mean, I had a bad one at the end of May that literally locked me up and I couldn't work out or do anything for a couple of days. And, I'm trying to figure out, because it keeps happening, what's going on with that. And a listener of the podcast, shout out to Dr. Clayton Durr. I had a lockup this week and couldn't run or work out or anything. And he was able to get me in and do some dry needling, some scraping, some other like just holistic type of stuff. I know you just shuddered at that idea.
Oh,
but he was able to do that. And I feel so much better than I have the previous times this has been flaring up. And I mean, that knocked me off my ultra training. And so I need to find like a real solution to this. And so I'm actively like focusing on that. And I was shocked how much he was able to help me in just one session. So I think I'm actually going to have him on the podcast, and we're going to do like a holistic healing, injury prevention, protocols and hacks, tips and tricks. We're going to do like a full pragmatic episode like that.
Yeah. Cause I was just about to ask after you were done, like the thoughts behind dry needling. I mean, in my head, it's like, what are they? Acupuncture? Is it the same concept or?
I don't know. I mean, I was laying on my stomach, so I couldn't see what he was doing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna kind of ask to dive in on dry needling because it just doesn't sound like fun in my head. Did it hurt?
Honestly, no. I mean, the needles are so small, and I was in such pain that I was like, I don't care what this feels like, just do it.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I like the stuff that he does because he is very like anti-surgery. Let's find a old-fashioned, more holistic approach to fixing this. My understanding of dry needling is that in my specific situation, I have a muscle that refuses to release. It's fully tensed up. I mean, you can even see it when it's at its worst. Like it creates a small hump on my shoulder. And when that doesn't release, that obviously pulls and affects you and is quite painful. And so by putting the needle into the muscle, apparently the needle creates some sort of electrical signal that goes to the brain that tells the brain to release. And that's why I'm going to have him on to explain how everything works.
Yeah.
But it forced the muscle to release. It was really cool because he was like, when I get done, because he only needled me for like 5 minutes, he was like, when you sit up, you're probably going to feel like you just hit a crazy shoulder workout. And I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, I work out a lot. There's no way that these needles are going to make me feel like that. I sat up and it was like, whoa, like my body, my shoulder just hit a crazy, crazy workout and was really sore. but 2 days later, I feel great.
Yeah. It's interesting. So he actually hooked up electronics to the needles, or he just stuck needles in there?
No, he just stuck needles in.
Dang.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. Like, I've never had that experience before, and it works so well that I want to have him on to talk about that, talk about ice bath, talk about sauna, just talk about all that type of stuff.
That'd be awesome. What's the name of his practice? Do you know?
I don't know.
Dang.
I'm sure he'll say it next time he comes on. But
yeah, for sure. Shout out.
Yeah, thanks for hooking me up, man. I mean, I'm trying to take it slow and do all of the rehab stuff that he gave me to do so that I can go hard at ultra training, because I'm going to knock out this 100 miles in November. Going to knock it out. So I need to be healthy and not get injured. And yeah, I'd say that's kind of the big piece outside of the restaurant.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we're just, we're doing it.
We're out here, man. Okay. Yeah, I think that pretty well is starting to wrap things up, unless you have anything else.
No, not that I can think of, man. I'm just, just grateful. Just grateful for everything. And it's a pretty cool life we get to live. I'll tell you that much.
It is. It is, really, in fact.
Is. So
we're some lucky guys.
We are.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. You guys can send me questions if you have any. We'll catalog them, get to them next episode. You can find me on Instagram at Jacob O'Connor. The podcast is at Real Period Conversations. Come check out Another Broken Egg, located at 4862 East 35th Street off North Oliver, across from Coke, 2 miles north of Wichita State University. Just did a sweet partnership with Wichita State University. You can find John on Instagram. I'll let you find it yourself, because he's probably not going to accept your request, even if you send him one.
Maybe
if you send him a nice note.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll put John's home address in the show note description if you want to write him a letter. And we'll see you guys next time.
Adios.
Ciao.